It happened on one of those afternoons when the sky looks like it's holding its breath. Gray, but not yet raining. Heavy, but undecided. I had been walking for hours, trying to clear my head, trying to remember who I used to be before the world decided what box to keep me in. My shoes were cheap and comfortable, the kind you buy because you stopped caring about labels a long time ago. The city buzzed around me, a blur of polished shoes and hurried conversations, everyone performing competence. I didn't have a destination, but my feet stopped in front of a restaurant I'd passed 100 times and never entered. It was called Le Jardin d'Or, which sounded like the kind of place that charges extra for the air you breathe. Gold lettering on the glass, velvet curtains, waiters who probably practiced disdain in the mirror before each shift. I don't know what possessed me. Curiosity, maybe defiance, but I pushed open the door and stepped inside. The warmth hit me first. Then the smell of butter and expensive wine. A man in a tailored suit looked up from the podium. His smile was professional, but his eyes flickered when he saw me. "Good afternoon," he said, his tone the verbal equivalent of checking my worth. "Table for one, please," I replied. I could almost hear his mental arithmetic. Faded jeans, scuffed shoes, no jewelry, hair tied in a messy bun. Total, not worth the linen napkins. "Do you have a reservation?" he asked, knowing the answer. "No," I said, smiling. "But I'm sure you'll find room." He hesitated, then gestured toward the back, to a lonely table near the service corridor. "Right this way," I followed, unbothered. Let them think they're in control. The tablecloth was crisp, the silverware heavy, the glass spotless. I sat, feeling the stares crawl over me. The waiter arrived. A tall, angular man with a name tag that read, Elliot. His smile didn't reach his eyes. "Can I start you off with something to drink?" "Water," I said. "Tap is fine." The smile faltered. "Tap," he repeated, as though I just requested to lick condensation off the window. "Yes," I said. "It's the clear liquid that comes out of the faucet." His jaw tightened. "Of course." He disappeared, leaving behind a faint trace of aftershave and disapproval. I could feel people watching. Discreet glances over menus, the faint whisper of silk sleeves. The rich have a particular way of looking at you when they think you don't belong, as if your existence is a temporary inconvenience in their curated world. Elliot returned with a glass of water that looked like it had been poured reluctantly. "Would you like to see the menu?" he asked. "Yes," I said. He handed it over with 2 fingers, like he was afraid I might smudge it. The prices made me chuckle inwardly. $65 for pasta, $80 for steak. I closed the menu gently. "I'll need a few minutes." "Of course," he said. But his tone meant, "Make it quick, Beggar." When he left, I leaned back and took in the room. Marble floors, chandeliers that looked like they cost more than my first car, laughter that echoed too loudly. And behind all that glamour, fear. The fear of slipping, of losing status, of being mistaken for someone like me. I sipped the water slowly, tasting the irony. 15 minutes passed. No one came back. I watched other tables receive bread baskets, wine refills, attention. Mine remained a desert. A small voice inside me whispered, "You could leave. You don't have to prove anything." But another voice, older, quieter, steadier, said, "Stay, observe." So I did. Eventually, Elliot appeared again, holding a notepad he didn't need. "Have you decided?" he asked, feigned politeness barely holding together. "Yes," I said. "I'll have the soup of the day." "Just the soup?" His tone cracked the thin surface of civility. "For now," he blinked. "Very well." He left again, this time with a smirk that could cut glass. I heard him at the counter whispering to another waiter, followed by a stifled laugh. The soup took 27 minutes to arrive. By then, the couple beside me had ordered, eaten, and were paying their bill. The bowl landed in front of me with a clatter. "Hot," he said. "Be careful." I looked at it. The broth was pale. The garnish wilted. It looked like an apology disguised as food. Thank you, I said and began to eat. The first spoonful was cold. I almost smiled. He wanted me to complain, to make a scene, to confirm his narrative. But I wouldn't. Instead, I finished the entire bowl, slowly, deliberately. When he came to clear it, I said, "That was lovely. May I have the check?" He blinked, disappointed that I wasn't outraged. "Just the soup?" "And the water," I said. "Of course." He returned with the bill, dropped it without a word, and turned away. I opened the folder. $12. I placed 100 inside. He noticed when he came back. "There's been a mistake," he said quickly. "You gave too much." "No mistake," I said. "Keep the change." His expression froze between confusion and suspicion. "Thank you," he said finally, voice wary. "You're welcome." I stood, adjusted my jacket, and as I turned to leave, a voice behind me said, "Excuse me, miss." It was the manager, a man in his 50s, with hair so perfectly slicked back it looked painted on. "Is there a problem?" I asked. "Not at all," he said with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "We just wanted to ensure everything met your expectations." "It did," I said. "In fact, it exceeded them." "Wonderful," he said. "You see, we take pride in offering exceptional service to our guests." "You should," I said. "You never know who might be dining with you." Something flickered in his gaze, uncertainty. "Of course," he said. I smiled faintly. "Tell me, is your owner in today?" He blinked. "Our owner?" "I'm afraid not." "Why do you ask?" "Just curious," I said. "You'll know soon enough." And I walked out. The air outside was crisp, sharp, freeing. I didn't look back. I had a meeting across town, at a law firm, to finalize paperwork transferring majority ownership of Le Jardin d'Or to me. 2 months earlier, I'd acquired the previous owner's investment portfolio after buying out his failing chain of boutique hotels. The restaurant had been part of the deal, buried in the paperwork. I hadn't mentioned it to anyone yet. I wanted to see it for myself first, without introductions, without privilege. I wanted to see how my future employees treated strangers. The answer was disappointing, but useful. That night, I returned. Not as a customer this time, but as the new owner. The staff didn't recognize me immediately. I'd changed clothes, combed my hair, added a pair of diamond studs I rarely wore. Money is the best disguise. The manager came rushing over, voice syrupy. "Good evening, ma'am. Welcome back. A table?" "No," I said. "Not tonight. I'm here for a staff meeting." His confusion was almost artistic. "A staff meeting?" "Yes," I said. "Gather everyone in the main room." Within 10 minutes, the entire staff stood in a nervous semicircle, eyes darting, whispers forming like static. Elliot was there, pale, fidgeting with his apron. The manager cleared his throat. "May I ask what this is about?" "Of course," I said, stepping forward. "It's about ownership. Effective immediately, Le Jardin d'Or belongs to a new entity, one that I control." Gasps. The manager blinked. "You control?" "That's right," I said. "And before you ask, yes, that means every paycheck, every policy, every position now falls under my discretion." Silence. Elliot's eyes widened in recognition. "You?" "Yes," I said. "The woman who ordered tap water." The silence turned heavier, weighted with realization. "I came here earlier today to see how your team treats guests," I continued. "I didn't announce who I was because I wanted honesty. What I got was arrogance, discrimination, and a clear lack of empathy." The manager's face flushed crimson. "Ms. Lawrence," I said. "Call me Ms. Lawrence." "Ms. Lawrence," he stammered. "If there's been any misunderstanding—" "There wasn't," I said sharply. "Your waiter mocked me to his colleague. You ignored me for nearly half an hour. You treated me like a stain on your perfect decor. Do you deny that?" He swallowed. "No, ma'am." "Good. Because honesty is the first step toward improvement." I walked closer, letting my heels click on the marble, every sound deliberate. I built my career from the ground up. I've been homeless, humiliated, written off, And I learned that character isn't revealed by how you treat people above you. It's revealed by how you treat those you think are beneath you. I turned to Elliot. Do you remember what you called me? His lips trembled. I didn't mean it. You called me a beggar, I said. And yet here we are. He looked down. I'm sorry. No, I said softly. You're not sorry. You're scared. But maybe that's a start. The room was silent except for the hum of the refrigerator. Here's what's going to happen, I continued. Tomorrow morning, you'll all attend a mandatory training on respect and inclusion. You'll learn how to look people in the eye without judging them. You'll learn that humility costs nothing but means everything. The manager nodded rapidly. Of course, Ms. Lawrence, anything you say. Good, I said. Because I'm also increasing staff wages by 10%. Not because you deserve it yet, but because people work better when they're treated like humans. But make no mistake, disrespect will cost you your job, permanently. A collective breath released, half relief, half awe. I turned to leave, but paused at the door. One more thing, I said, glancing at Elliot. The next time someone walks in wearing something you think is beneath your standards, remember this. You might be serving your future boss. I left before anyone could speak. Outside, the city lights shimmered like nervous applause. The air smelled cleaner again, or maybe that was just freedom. As I walked to my car, I thought about the irony of it all, that the girl who once scrounged for coins to afford coffee now owned a restaurant that wouldn't have seated her. People always ask what success feels like. They think it's champagne and limousines. It isn't. It's walking back into the places that made you feel small and realizing you're not anymore. Over the next few weeks, I visited the restaurant often, sometimes in disguise, sometimes openly. The changes were slow but real. The staff smiled genuinely, not just for tips. The food tasted better, though maybe that was just empathy seasoning the air. Elliot stayed. I didn't fire him. He worked hard to redeem himself, and I saw in him a reflection of who I once was, arrogant before being humbled by reality. One evening after closing, he approached me. Ms. Lawrence? He said quietly. Thank you for not letting me go. I don't believe in throwing people away, I replied. I believe in second chances. I've had a few myself. He nodded, eyes shining with something like gratitude. I'll never forget what you said. That respect has to come before recognition. Good, I said. Then maybe this place has hope. As he left, I stood alone in the dining room. The chandeliers flickered gently, casting soft light on the tables. I thought about how power can corrupt, but it can also correct. It's not the money that defines you. It's what you do when no one thinks you have any. I locked the door, stepped into the cool night, and smiled. Somewhere inside me, the part that had once been broken finally exhaled. The world will always have waiters who call strangers beggars. And it will always have people who think worth is measured in labels and wine lists. But sometimes, life gives you the microphone long enough to remind them who's really writing the checks. And when that moment comes, you don't shout. You speak softly, clearly, and let the truth do the heavy lifting.